Welcome back, Endgame community. And if you're new here, my name is Chris. I'm one half of the Fantasy Football Endgame, along with Pierre. It's a pleasure to have you. And today I'm going to talk about 5 players who you probably are panicking about after week 2 of the fantasy football season. These are players that you were counting on to be week in contributors to your fantasy team. And so far, they may have not been getting it done. Now, before we get into the video, really quick, couple links down in the description you should know about. Number 1, our free Discord server. You're definitely going to want to get in there. Not only is it a great place to be, a ton of fun, but tons of fantasy knowledge being talked about all week long to help you make better decisions to win your matchups and eventually win your league. Also, another link down below to our private member-only Sunday morning start-sit show that we do to really dive in deep in your toughest decisions to make sure you're putting the optimal lineup out there to help you win. Now, with that out of the way, let's get to this week's Panic Players. And let's start with a pretty obvious one from the Thursday night game, and that is Antonio Gibson of my football team, right? This was a guy had a lot of high hopes for, potential top 5 upside. You drafted him in the second round pretty much in every league to either be your RB1 or your rock steady RB2, and so far just hasn't really got it done. Now, on the plus side, he's getting great usage. He's getting enough work and enough targets, not to be top 5, but at least to be in that 10 to 15 range. The problem here, same problem it was last year, is J.D. McKissic. The football team really likes J.D. McKissic, especially in the 2-minute drill. And that's a big problem for Antonio Gibson because the 2-minute drill, those are very valuable snaps. The team is usually playing really fast and running a lot of snaps. That's a good thing. B, they're usually throwing the ball more, which is good for McKissic because we know in PPR leagues, which I'm sure most of you play in, a catch is worth significantly more than a carry. So as long as J.D. McKissic is there, this is going to be a problem for Antonio Gibson. Now, again, like I said, I still think he's a top 10, top 15 fantasy running back. So am I panicking? A little bit, but also I know he's still going to be good. He's still going to be serviceable. Don't do something crazy and sell him for extremely cheap. Now, if you get a great offer for him, absolutely take it. You should always take a great offer for a player. Or if you can go out and you can get him for very cheap from whoever has them and is panicking right now, do that too. Just lower expectations a little bit. Understand he's not going to be top 5, more like 10 to 15, which, hey, if that's your RB2, nothing wrong with that at all. All right, now let's move on to a wide receiver who you drafted again in the second, maybe the third round, potentially to be your wide receiver 1, maybe your wide receiver 2, and that's Allen Robinson of the Chicago Bears. Now, we knew coming in that the quarterback play might be an issue, but we all hoped that Justin Fields would get in there sooner rather than later. Well, it happened in week 2, and guess what? Things didn't get much better for Allen Robinson. He did catch a touchdown. That was with Andy Dalton, though, not Justin Fields. But when Justin Fields was in there for most of the second half, things really did not get a whole lot better for Allen Robinson or this entire Bears defense, to be honest. And look, maybe if they announced Justin Fields as a starter heading into week 3 and he gets an entire week to take reps with the first team, maybe things will be okay. But as of right now, we got to really worry because A, Andy Dalton doesn't seem to be the answer, and B, Justin Fields might not be the answer either, at least as far as it concerns Allen Robinson. Now, we've seen Allen Robinson put up great fantasy seasons with bad quarterbacks many times before, so I'm not saying it can't still happen. It's only week 2. Again, mildly panicking here, not going to do anything crazy like sell him for super cheap, not going to take some lowball offer for him. But again, like Antonio Gibson, if you get a great offer for him, take it. Absolutely, because may not have that top 5 upside as well that we kind of expected. Same with Antonio Gibson. So I do think better days are ahead for Allen Robinson, but still mildly panicking. Now let's talk about another wide receiver, a second-year wide receiver that had tons of hype coming into the season, and that is Laviska Shenault of the Jaguars. Had an okay week 1, not great, not what we were looking for, but man, week 2, it was bad. 2 catches for minus 3 yards. That's right, 2 catches, minus 3 yards. And this is the problem for Laviska Shenault, and it is going to be a problem all year. He is a very low average depth of target player. What that means is when he catches a pass, he is very close to the line of scrimmage. Last week, his average was 4.3 yards. That means his average from the line of scrimmage when he caught a pass was only 4 yards. I don't care. For a guy like that, he needs tons of volume to get by, or he needs to be a yard after catch monster, breaking tons of tackles, picking up tons of yards, because he's not going to get it through the air, right? And this is going to be a problem for him all year. And it doesn't look like in this Jaguars offense, there's a role for that kind of guy. Chark and Jones are clearly the 1-2. Jones had another very nice game this week with a touchdown. So I'm definitely panicking on Laviska Shenault. Here's the problem if you have Laviska Shenault. There's not a lot of value left. I mean, you got to find the guy in your league or girl in your league who is really high on Laviska Shenault and hope you can get something decent in return. Otherwise, you just got to hold on to him because you can't sell him at his rock bottom value and get nothing in return. That doesn't help you. You got to just hold on to him and hope it gets better. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get much better. I mean, it'll get better than 2 catches for -3 yards, of course. He'll score some touchdowns. He'll have some nice games, but I just don't think what he does fits this Urban Meyer offense. And look, this offense doesn't look good. Trevor Lawrence is struggling out of the gate here, so definitely panicking about Laviska Shenault. All right, now let's talk about a couple of 49er players, and let's start with the obvious one, and that's George Kittle, the tight end, right? Drafted as one of the big 3 tight ends with Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. Probably took him in the 3rd round. You're expecting a tight end that you don't ever have to worry about all year, going to deliver week in and week out. And so far, it just hasn't happened. I mean, week 1 was okay, not really what you were hoping for, but okay. But then week 2 comes along, only 4 targets, 4 catches, clearly behind Deebo Samuel. I don't know what the problem is here. I don't think it's an injury. I haven't heard anything about an injury. I think it's just the offense as a whole, right? This is just a low volume offense. It's a slow, methodical offense. They want to use a lot of clock. They want to march up and down the field. It's not going to take a lot of shots. They're going to lean on that running game. And that's a problem for George Kittle. Now, I'm not completely panicking on George Kittle. I still think he's a great player. I still think he's going to have a great season. But I don't know if he's going to have that top 3 tight end type of season like we were expecting. Could he still be a top 5 tight end? Sure. But I definitely feel right now like TJ Hawkinson is probably going to finish ahead of him if things continue the way they have been so far. And maybe some other guys too. So again, don't completely panic on George Kittle. Mildly panicked here, no doubt about it. Don't go out and sell him on the cheap. If you get a great offer, as I always say, take it. Otherwise, just, hold the fort again. Better days are ahead for George Kittle. Just maybe don't expect, every week monster tight end, top 3, top 2 type tight end numbers. All right, sticking with that 49ers offense, we have to talk about Brandon Aiyuk, right? I intentionally did not talk about him last week because I thought maybe the hamstring was an issue. Maybe they were just limiting his snaps while he got healthy. But after week 2, no, that is definitely not the case. There are major red flags, and it's major panic time for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, things did get a little bit better. He played a little bit more. He got 2 targets and a catch, so, that's an improvement, right? That's good. But definitely, if you have Brandon Aiyuk, you have to be panicking big time. But here's the problem. There's nothing you can do. You can't trade him because everybody in your league sees the same thing and realizes, nope, that guy has no value, so you're not going to be able to trade him. You can't drop him because somebody will pick him up. And if he ends up going off in week 3, week 4, week 5, you're going to kick yourself for dropping him. So you just got to put him on your bench and ride it out and hope at some point he starts playing more snaps, getting more targets, and getting better. Because look, this guy did have a great rookie season. If you look at his routes and his success versus coverages, he was very good. So it's very perplexing to me that he's not out there more and he's not doing better. But whatever the reason, it's not happening. You definitely have to be panicked about him. But again, not a lot you can do. Just put him on your bench and hope it gets better. And then finally, let's finish with one more wide receiver, and that's Robert Woods of the Los Angeles Rams. This was a guy I was very high on. I know a lot of people were very high on. Matthew Stafford, a Sean McVay offense. How could you not be? But it's been just an okay start to the season. I think his start has been better than people realize. It's just people look at what Cooper Kupp has been doing, who has just been balling out, and they think, oh, Robert Woods has been terrible, right? I mean, there's been people in the Discord, I know they're kind of joking, but, saying you should drop him, panicking about whether they should start him or not. Look, He scored a touchdown in week 1, gave you over 12 fantasy points, gave you 12 fantasy points in week 2, had 9 targets and 2 carries. That's always a nice thing about Robert Woods is he'll get those carries, right? 9 targets and 2 carries. So it's not like he's not involved in the offense at all. It's not like he's not getting his chances. It just hasn't happened for him yet. And that's pretty much because Cooper Kupp has been, like I said, balling out. But look, Cooper Kupp is going to come back down to earth at some point. Cooper Kupp is a great player, and he's going to have a great season. But he's not going to score 30-plus fantasy points every single week. And if he does, well, guess what? You've already lost your fantasy football league anyways, unless you drafted Cooper Kupp, so it doesn't matter. So chances are he's going to come back down to earth. And when he does, that'll be good things for Robert Woods. I still expect Robert Woods to have a very good season in this offense. Sure, Cooper Kupp definitely looks like the number 1, but Robert Woods is a close second. And in this offense with Matthew Stafford, with Sean McVay, that is more than enough to have plenty of fantasy football value. Mildly panicking here, of course, but there's some good signs here. It's not like Brandon Aiyuk or Laviska Shenault where there aren't really any good signs. Definitely good signs for Robert Woods. If you have somebody better on your bench that you could play over, maybe a guy like Cortland Sutton, all right? He had a nice game this week. If you have a guy better on your bench that you could play, go ahead, play him next week, see what happens with Robert Woods. But don't do anything crazy with him. Don't go out, trade him on the cheap. Just put him, hold him on your bench or start him again next week. I think he'll be fine. I'm mildly panicking, but I do think better days are ahead. All right, guys, those are my top 5 panic players after week 2. I want to hear from you now. Who are some players you're panicking about on your fantasy team? Drop a comment below and let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed it or found it informative at all, please hit that thumbs up and give the channel a subscribe. We'd love to have you be part of the community. We're looking for 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think we can do it. And don't forget those 2 links in the description to the Discord and to the exclusive members only Sunday morning show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope to help you out, and I'll see you next time.